Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ali Gohar. Tonight we'll be speaking to a wonderfully talented all-rounder who represented Pakistan in some crucial matches and played lots and lots of county cricket. He was the king of county cricket at one point, one of the most sought-after all-rounders. We have with us tonight Mr. Yasir Arafat. Yasir Arafat, Assalamu alaikum. Right, Yasir Arafat will be speaking in detail about your career and what you managed to achieve for Pakistan and in domestic cricket. But before we do that in detail, our PTV World production team has prepared a special package on Yasir Arafat. Let's listen in.
Yasir Arafat is a former Pakistani Test cricketer. When it comes to his international career, having previously represented his country at under 15 level, he made his ODI debut for Pakistan in 2000 when he was 17 years old against Sri Lanka in Karachi and took his first wicket in this match. He played just one more match the following year before being dropped. He was given a second chance at international cricket in the last ODI against England in December 2005 and was retained for the series against India in February 2006 but was left out of the ODI squad for the subsequent tour in England. His next chance at international cricket came up in the 2006 ICC Champions Trophy when he was one of the players called up to the Pakistan squad for the Champions Trophy. In March 2007, he was called up for Pakistan squad for the 2007 Cricket World Cup. On 8 December 2007, Arafat made his test match debut for Pakistan against India in Bangalore in the third and final test of the series. He displayed his all-round abilities by taking 7 wickets in the match, including a 5-wicket haul and scoring 44 in the first innings. Talking about Yasir's domestic career, in English domestic cricket, he was signed as an overseas player for Sussex for the 2006 season to line up alongside fellow countrymen Mushtaq Ahmed and Rana Naveed and help the team to win the double of the county championship and the CNG trophy. He was signed up to play for Kent in the 2007 season. In 2004, Arafat performed the extremely rare feat of taking 5 wickets in 6 balls for Rawalpindi against the national champions Faisalabad in the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy. This had only been achieved 3 times previously in the entire history of first-class cricket. Arafat was signed to play in Big Bash League franchise Perth Scorchers in December 2013.
A wonderful career. Yasir Arafat, you made your debut way back, almost 20 years ago in the year 2000 as an all-rounder against Sri Lanka. But it must have been a very difficult time to be an all-rounder for Pakistan because we had Abdul Razak, who was well established at that point. Azhar Mahmood was there as well. Then of course Syed, Afridi, Shoaib Malik. So it wasn't easy for you at all, which is why I guess you were in and out of the team a lot. And of course some selection issues, that's always there in Pakistan cricket. So it must have been very frustrating for you, but at the same time, Yasir Arafat, you made the best out of it by becoming an excellent county cricketer.
Yeah, thank you very much for the excellent introduction, because few of the things you showed here, which I even can't forget. And then, yeah, you're talking about, my career. It's been quite long, 20 years of first-class cricket. I played, when I was 17 years old, I made my first-class debut in 1997, 98. Before that, I started club cricket very young. I played under 15 World Cup. That was in England, and we played the final at Lords against India. So from there, my career started, and then as you mentioned in my intro, that I made my international debut against Sri Lanka in 2000 when I was nearly a 18 years old kid. And I was lucky enough to make my debut when I was that young. But yes, you're right. You rightly said that there was so much competition back at that time in the early 2000 when I started my cricket, because there were so many good cricketers in Pakistan team, especially the all-rounders were exceptional, like the likes of Azhar Mahmood, Abdul Razak, Shoaib Malik, and Syed Afridi. And then, it's kind of difficult for me to get into the side, but at the same time, I try to manage, perform well in the domestic cricket and try to do well, and then, and also playing abroad, as you mentioned, playing county cricket, for almost 12 to 13 years.
How did you keep yourself motivated? Because as I said before, the competition at that time in Pakistan was fierce, and there's also selection issues. There's likes and dislikes. Lots of players have had to deal with that. So I'm just curious how you managed to keep yourself going, because a lot of cricketers would be demotivated.
Yeah, you rightly said, because if you perform well in domestic cricket, and then even then you don't get a chance. Even though when you get a chance, the amount of games I got, the chances I get from when I was playing for Pakistan was is like nothing, because I played my first game in 2000, and that is it. I mean, I got dropped immediately from the team. The next day, the team was flown to Lahore, and I was sent back to Rawalpindi, where I'm from. And and then again the next season, I did so well in domestic cricket. I got called up again for Pakistan team to Sharjah, and I played a game there again against Sri Lanka. And then same thing happened again. I mean, I got dropped again after that tour, and then in between I played like 4 years back to back domestic cricket, and did so well. And you mentioned one of the world records, which I equaled during that time. And I never get a chance back till 2005, when I again played against England. It's talking about the motivation. I was lucky enough to, got motivated by my dad. He was always there. He always, motivated me, these things happen wherever in Pakistan, or in any sport you go. But you got to, what you can do is, you can keep working hard, keep performing well. Whenever you get your chance, you try to do your best.
Yeah, I still remember when I was growing up, when you were first selected for Pakistan. I mean, when you think of the name Yasir Arafat, the first thing that comes to your mind is a Palestinian leader, not a cricketer. But then here you are, not a very tall guy, but you got the ball through at some pretty good pace. But I think again, there was an issue with Pakistan cricket, and I guess we still have it now, but not as much. If you weren't hitting 90 miles per hour regularly, you weren't taken that seriously. It was only, I think, much later when T20 cricket came into being during the 2007 World Cup. You were selected for that as well because you were a good T20 cricketer. That's why you were called upon in the 2007 World Cup, I think, as well the 2014 World Cup. But back then, when you just started and you were making a name for yourself, I think that was one of the reasons why you were overlooked a lot, because selectors felt like, look, if you're not bowling at 90 plus, then you can't play regularly for Pakistan. Do you think? Would you agree with that?
I think that was not the reason, actually, because if they want someone not to play, they make excuses and comes out with different theories, right? First, when I was performing well in domestic cricket, they were saying Yasir can't bowl with a new ball. Although I was a youngster in the side, and there was good bowlers in our team in Rawalpindi at that time, or even when I was playing for KL, they were good bowlers. So I always get a chance to bowl with the old one, right? So they were, always not accusing, but they were making an issue, we always bowl with because that's how I learned my reverse swing. I was famous bowling reverse swing when I was playing, and then obviously you mentioned about the 90 miles an hour. They never take me as a fast bowler. They always say that I'm a medium military pace bowler. And the good thing about my career was I tend to bat at low down the order, and I did so well. I make like 5 first class hundreds as well, 2 in the county cricket. So they always come up with the different excuses because they don't want me to play. I don't know whether the reason was I was not in the good books of the selectors or the PCB, or I don't know. Never get a proper answer of my rejection in the team.
But as I said, I think you made the best out of your situation by becoming a fantastic county cricketer. There was a point where you were, I think, one of the most sought after all-rounders. You played for a number of counties and you became a better cricketer after that. We saw you playing for Pakistan. I think it was the 2014 T20 World Cup. I remember you played a game against South Africa as well, and you were talking about your Yorkers. You also had a mean slower delivery, a very, very good slower ball, which was why you were a very good T20 cricketer. But we'll talk about your stint in England and compare English county cricket to Pakistani domestic cricket, but I want to ask some fan questions. You know, for something for die-hard cricket fans. The 2007 World Cup, I remember it like it was yesterday. A lot of Pakistani fans want to forget it. You see, we talk about Misbah-ul Haq's innings and then playing that shot, that shot of Joginder Sharma, that scoop which breaks our heart. We remember Umar Gul bowling those thunderbolts, getting rid of MS Dhoni. But what I remember, I still remember when I was watching the game, you made, I think, what was it, 14 or 15 runs, you hit a couple of boundaries, and that was the point I was thinking, wow, Pakistan is still in this game. That was just before Misbah got after Harbhajan. So can you tell us a little bit about that match and the role that you played?
I mean, that was a first ever T20 World Cup, and we were like, very young side. Shoaib Malik was the captain, and there were so many young, like Muhammad Asif and Umar Gul. They were like exceptionally well, and then the likes of Shoaib Malik, Yunus Khan, Misbah-ul Haq in the batting department, Muhammad Hafiz, Kamran Akmal in the keeping department. So we had a very good young side, and then we did very well in the throughout the tournament. Apart from I think the game we lost to India again. I mean, in the pool games. That was ball out. Even we tied the game and then we lost in a ball out. That was I mean the first time in the history of cricket like that happened, and never happened that again. So yeah, final was a good game for us, especially against India, playing against India in a World Cup competition. Never that happened. So I mean everybody was pumped up, and we were down out because we were almost losing that game, and then I got a chance to. Misbah was batting on the other side, and I came in, and I think, as you mentioned, I scored 14, 15 runs at that time, and at that crucial time. And then Syed came, and then he hit 2 sixes, of 1 over. If I remember that, of Shrishant's bowling. And that, brought us back into the game. And then Asif came, and then Asif and Misbah. Again, we were sure that if Misbah stays till the end, we could have won that game, but. I think the trophy was not in our favor at that time, and we lost in the end.
I mean, Pakistan had some formidable T20 teams. You took some great names there, some of the best T20 cricketers in the world, and you were a part of that. We talk about 2007. I think Pakistan in 2014. Am I getting the year right? I think that was also a formidable team. When you look at the bowling attack, there was Syed Ajmal, Umar Gul, Raza Hassan was new onto the scene, and he was brilliant in that World Cup. Was Raza Hassan, Mohammad Hafiz. Sorry?
Sohail Tanveer and Mohammad Sami was there as well in 2012.
Yeah, Sohail Tanveer was there. I think Sami was there. In the game against South Africa, I don't think he played. You played. It was the game when Umar Gul, Gul won for us with the bat. वो बाद में आया उन्होंने 2-3 छक्के मारे and we won that match.
Yes.
But yeah, see that team, you were you were still in 2014, you were still considered a top cricketer. So I mean, you have to be very proud of that. The fact that you played with these guys and played a significant role. Pakistan have produced some tremendous white ball cricketers, especially in the shortest format.
Yes, I think that was 2012 World Cup. That was in Sri Lanka, and we lost in the
2012.
Yes, and yes, talking about that World Cup, I was ignored. Like I was not part of the for the team for the last probably 2 years, and all of a sudden Muhammad Hafiz got picked as the captain of the team, and he was. I mean, I played a lot of cricket with him, and he and performed well in front of him, and he knows about my expertise and specialty, how good I am, playing in Pakistan and as well as in county cricket. So he asked me to, he picked me for that tour, and before that World Cup, we had a few games, one in Sri Lanka, where like 2 T20 games, and where I got like 3 wickets in a game, and then didn't play the second one, and then we had a 2 or 3 match series in Dubai against Australia, and there I played one game as well, and I got Shane Watson out, and the left-hander opening batsman David Warner, right?
You were a brilliant fielder as well. I just wonder. You were a brilliant fielder. You fielded brilliantly in one of the games against Australia. I think in deep mid-wicket. You were amazing. I still remember that.
Yeah. That ball was like a fine leg. Third man. Matthew Wade was playing, and then they were like about winning the game, and I was just came in replacement of Syed. I think Syed got injured, and then they sent me in as a 12th man. So I think threw the ball right from the boundary and straight into the stumps, and then Matthew Wade got out, and then we took 2 wickets, and then the match got tied, and we won that game again in the super over where Abdul Razak and Umar Akmal did really well, and we chased, I think, I don't know, defended or chased like 16 or 17 in that over. So yeah, I mean, I did well, and then we went into the World Cup, 2012 World Cup. I did all right. I played like 4 games. Out of 4 games, I played in 2 games. I bowled 1 over. Against India, I bowled 1 over, and then against New Zealand, I think I bowled 1 over. Right? I bowled 4 overs against Bangladesh. I took 3 wickets in that game, and then against South Africa, as you mentioned about that game, I got Dumini out on my slow ball. And then I got Hashim Amla got out on slow ball, and then I got JP Dumini caught behind. So I mean, I took like 5 wickets in that tournament in 7 overs. So I was the second highest wicket taker in that tournament after Syed Ajmal. Syed Ajmal got 7 wickets. I got like 5 wickets in the tournament, and the only player dropped from that team was me actually. So I mean, that's how my international career ended.
Well, you know what, you're mentioning the slower delivery. That was a very slow wicket, that game against South Africa. I remember that's why Mohammad Hafiz was the captain then, if I'm not wrong. Was Hafiz the captain?
Yes.
Yeah, he was attacking with the spinners. But I mentioned, again, we're talking about your bowling variations and your fielding. You mentioned that game against Australia, which I believe really won the match for Pakistan. That's when it hit me that watching you, across the outfield on the boundary, how quick you were, how sharp you were. And a lot of that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, comes from you playing abroad, playing county cricket. And let's not forget you also played the Big Bash for Perth, I think it was, Perth Scorchers. So tell us a little bit about county cricket, the years you spent playing in England, and how it honed your skills, developed your cricketing skills.
I mean, this is the second phase of my, professional career. I was playing during all winter, I used to play for Pakistan, Rawalpindi, and then at the same time departmental cricket, which I used to play for KRL Khan Research Laboratories, and I'm honored to play for that team because that team is run by Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, one of the big names of Pakistan. So and then when the season finishes in Pakistan, so I used to go to England to play. I started in 2000 when I was very young came here to play some club cricket. I was played some 6 years club cricket back in Scotland, in Glasgow, which was a great learning experience for me. As a young kid, 18 years old, on his own, living in England abroad. You learn a lot of things on your own. You have got to cook by yourself. You meet different people, different life learning experience you go through, and that was a great experience for me. And then I came into county cricket, 2006. You mentioned I signed by Sussex. 2006. I mean, they are having the Sussex. Mushtaq Ahmed and Rana Nabi, they were the 2 overseas players for them. But Pakistan had to tour to England in 2006. If you remember that oval match where there's a lot of controversial match at the forfeit. So Rana Nabi had to join Pakistan team in that year. So because as I was doing very well in Pakistan, domestic cricket, and Mushtaq Ahmed saw me doing well and doing a lot of reverse swing, a lot of long spells. So he saw me playing, doing well in domestic cricket. So he mentioned that once when you are playing in club cricket, so I will try to contact you, and you should come and give come to Sussex and give some trials, and then if they are okay with that, then you can they will sign you, and then you can play for Sussex. So I said yeah. So I went to Sussex, and then immediately they signed me, and I had a 3-month stint with them in 2006, and we did so well in that year. So we won that champion trophy at that time, 4-day count. We won that, and then at the Lords, there's a 50 over competition at Lords. We won that as well. So I had a very good season in that year. So because of that performance, other counties were interested in me, and then the following year I signed with Kent, and then from there I played 12 to 13 years non-stop continuous county cricket.
Now Yasir, what can we learn, or what can the Pakistanis learn from the English county setup? What are some of the things we should take from there? And while we're on the subject, what do you think of Pakistan's current domestic setup? You have the floor.
In the past, you've seen like so many legends from Pakistan cricket, like Imran Khan, Javed, Majid, Zahir, and if you name it. I mean, most of the players, they used to come here in the summer, and they play like 5 to 6 months of cricket continuously. Non-stop cricket. You got to travel a lot. You go to play in different conditions. It's like playing in county cricket is like it's like you learn a lot. You played against different players, different conditions, and you got to make sure you got to keep yourself very fit for the whole season. So you learn how to keep yourself fit, how to perform, how to responsible as a professional player. So I learned a lot from playing county cricket, so which helped me a lot in not just in cricket, in my practical life. So I would always say to the players back home in Pakistan that you should come whenever you get a chance. Even club cricket. If you come here on your own, and you learn a lot. It's like coming here and you're in an academy system. It's like you got different coaches, you got nutritionists here, physiotherapists here, so you learn a lot from here. So I must always encourage the youngsters back home in Pakistan, so they should come here and play, and at least 1 year they should come here and play a county cricket or club cricket.
No, I think before this, you hit the nail on the head, saying that you not only developed your cricketing skills, but you learned a lot about life. You were on your own. It was sink or swim. You learned how to cook. You made your own bed, I guess. Your English probably improved greatly. You made new friends. And I think that also helps you in your career. Wasim Akram said the same thing, that when he joined Lancashire, he couldn't speak a word of English. But Lancashire looked after him. They really they took care of him. And he learned a lot about life, a lot about himself. He learned how to do things that he didn't know how to do. And that's why he became the cricketer that he was and the man that he is.
Yeah, that's the thing. The recent. In the past, if you name them like Imran or Wasim Akram, Waqar Yunus, why they played a longer? Their career is so long because they by playing county cricket they learn how to survive in international cricket and how they keep themselves fit. So you got to learn. You learn a lot from playing in county cricket. You're right.
Right, so tell us, when you played Pakistani domestic cricket, tell us the good things and the bad things. What's good about Pakistan's domestic cricket, domestic setup, and what can we do to improve?
Domestic cricket has always been a issue. In Pakistan cricket, they always complain, the players or the management. They always complain about the condition of the pitch, the condition of the standard of the balls, the side screen, the hoteling and the traveling and everything. They always, have issues with domestic cricket. And I would say that this season it's like a nail in the coffin, the last nail in the coffin is they shut the departmental cricket, which is I think the bad decision the Pakistan cricket made recently. Most of the cricketers come from they come from departmental cricket. I played 16 years for KRL, and then they look after you very well. They give you so many facilities, the only thing they can do better is if you are comparing Pakistan domestic cricket, you want to do to change the Pakistan cricket similar to Australia. Australia, you can't compare Australian domestic structure to Pakistan cricket because the population is totally different in Australia to Pakistan, and then if you reduce the domestic cricket into 16, what about the other players? Where they going to play? Because they were saying that there will be a club cricket, there will be a city cricket, there will be a district cricket. So there was no cricket last year. The season went. There was no cricket apart from the 16. Those who played the first class cricket. That's it. So I think that's the bad decision by the PCB to shut the department. because it was a nursery for Pakistan cricket. They used to have coach team, under-19 team. After the under-19 team, the players, the department picks those good players, and they groom the players in their department, and they have a good infrastructure. Like they have every team have to have their ground, the gymnasium, the swimming pool. They have nice infrastructure. So by shutting the department down, I think is the biggest mistake done by the PCB.
No, I'm glad you got your point across. You're not the only one who feels that way, but the other side have some very sound arguments as well as to why departments have been shed. But I think it's just important to have this discussion, and it's particularly important that former Pakistani cricketers, great domestic cricketers like yourself, you've also represented Pakistan, and it's very important that you get your point across. Now, Yasir Arafat, onto something a little bit lighter. Growing up, who were your favorite cricketers? Who inspired you?
When I start watching cricket, because my dad was a club cricketer, he was passionate about cricket, and when I was growing up, my dad was watching matches on the TVs, and then at that time, Pakistan won the World Cup '92, and when I was very young, Imran Khan was an inspiration. He was the inspiration for so many young kids in Pakistan, and he was my inspiration as a cricketer because he was an all-rounder and good captain. And then later on, when I started my cricket, club cricket and then professional cricket, so I used to follow and try to copy Wakadino's his action, his bowling action, his bowling run-up. So that's why most of the other players, my fellow cricketers, they always told me that your action is quite similar to Bakadino's, because he had a very rhythmical run-up, and then his follow-through and the way he approaches the stump. I always admire him. So he was my inspiration as well. And if you in a batting, if you say like Inzamam is another inspiration to me, because he was one of the best cricketer Pakistan had, and these were my inspiration when I was growing up.
Right, Yasir Arafat, we'll continue talking about this. This is lots of fun, but I understand our PTV World production team, Yasir Arafat and I were talking about Pakistan's domestic structure just a few minutes ago. They prepared a package on Pakistan's domestic structure from 1954 till today. Let's listen in.
The history of cricket in Pakistan predates the creation of country in 1947. As cricket being the most popular sport in the country, the locals have been thriving to watch matches. Almost all cities and villages in Pakistan have their own cricket teams and unofficial tournaments. Pakistani children start playing cricket at a young age. The game is the most popular form of sports in the country. If you talk about the structure of domestic cricket, so there is a huge difference now. In the trophy of domestic cricket was introduced in 1953-54 season 5 regional and 2 departmental teams competed in the first competition. The competition's format has seldom remained unchanged from one season to the next. It has been contested sometimes by regional teams, sometimes by departmental teams, but usually by a mixture of two. In 1956-57, it was decided that Karachi and Punjab would have to enter 3 teams each to make the teams more evenly matched. Former Pakistan captain Amir Sohail raised a strong voice for revival of club cricket, saying it has been left redundant for a decade and that the present Pakistan Cricket Board is putting the last nail in its coffin. Amir said that cricket structure has left at the mercy of God Almighty. No club cricket means no cricket at all. It is the very base of any cricket structure, and sadly that system in Pakistan has been laid to rest, he said. This is a bad omen for the future of Pakistani cricket. If things remain the same for a few more years, we won't have quantity or quality. The Pakistan Cricket Board announced a new domestic structure ahead of the 2019-20 season, which included the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy being contested by 6 newly formed regional teams. The Pakistan Cricket Board unveiled an ambitious and competitive 2019-20 domestic cricket structure, which revolves around the creation of a more quality and intensity-focused system, to significantly improve first-class cricket and create sustainable success at international level. The new structure gives importance to club cricket, provide the best cricketing environment to young talented cricketers, reward top performers, create employment opportunities to former cricketers and qualified coaches, and bridge the gap between domestic and international cricket.
Well, stakeholders are doing what they can to improve Pakistan's domestic structure, and just let's hope it gets better and better, and it needs to be more competitive. I think that's what the PCB and those at the fore are trying to do. Yasir Arafat, back to you. We were talking about some of your favorite cricketers growing up. You mentioned Waqar Younis. You tried to copy his action. I can't think of one young up-and-coming fast bowler who hasn't tried to copy Waqar Younis. You mentioned Inzamam ul Haq. But what about some of the other cricketers? Cricketers that didn't, I mean, who played for Pakistan, but couldn't quite get to the very top, who didn't do justice to their potential, or they were ignored consistently by selectors. I'm thinking of guys like Kabir Khan, who I'm sure you may have seen at the very beginning of your career, or maybe you were too young then. Syed Nazir, Rana Naveedul Hassan, who played a lot for Pakistan, but he could have gone on. Rao Iftkhar, these guys.
I mean, early on, like, when Waqar and Wasim was playing, like, it's very difficult and it's very hard for the young, young and new upcoming bowler to get to cement his place in the squad. If I remember that when Waqar Wasim was playing, then the third bowler was Aqib Javed. He played like few games, like few years for Pakistan. He was there for like about 10, 12 years, but he hardly played like 20, 25 test matches and 120, 150 or 160 ODI. And in between, like, you have Ataur Rahman and different bowlers who played like few games. And as you mentioned, like other players like Abdul Razak, they were Abdul Razak and Azhar Mahmood. They stayed in the Pakistan setup or system because they were good. They were good all rounders actually, because they at the same time they have they more like 140 miles an hour. Their pace was good, 140 and 145 miles an hour. Like that was the thing, because they stayed more and more in Pakistan cricket. But if you compare the other bowlers like Muhammad Akram came, Shahid Nazir, but they struggled because and at the same time Muhammad Zaid, there was another fast bowler who was rapid fast, like more like 95 miles an hour at that time. But he got injured quite early of his on his career. So I mean, it's bit of both. Difficult to. Kept themselves in the Pakistan team. At the same time, they, I think few of them got injured, quite early in their career, and also, I would say that there was a lot of nepotism, liking and disliking. If you are in the good books of the selectors or the captains, then you can survive in the Pakistan team. Otherwise, it was very difficult. And if you say Shoaib Akhtar, he came into the side, he missed his a good 2 to 3 years playing domestic.
He says he should have played in 94, 95. That's what he says.
Yes, I mean that's what he said, and I was following him, and I played a lot of cricket with him, and when he was playing for Rawalpindi and Kerala, and we used to see him training hard and bowling a lot of long spells and taking a lot of wickets in domestic cricket. But even then he got ignored. The PCB used to send him into Super Secret Hong Kong tours, or maybe under 19 or A tours. But I would say that he was ready to play for Pakistan at that time. So he missed his good 2 to 3 years at that time. So these things happen in Pakistan cricket. So yeah, you got to live with it.
I'm sure you faced Shoaib in the nets. We all know he was the fastest bowler. He was one of the fastest in the world. You tell us, how quick was he? And I'm sure he tried to prove himself in the nets as well.
Luckily, I hardly faced Shoaib Akhtar in the net, but I still remember once. He came to the training session, and I was batting, and he just he was not in a mood of bowling, and he just came with his with the trailers, not even the spikes. He just took like 3 yards, and he ball yorker onto my toe, and I still remember that ball, and he hit right on my toe, and that's the only incident. I faced him in the net. So I was lucky enough to play along with him instead of facing him in the matches.
You faced some quality international bowlers as well when you played for Pakistan and in county cricket. Some of the names that stick out in your mind, fast bowlers and spinners, the best that you faced, that you had trouble with.
In county cricket, like I played almost all the counties in here. Especially, I would mention Steve Harmison's name here because he was quite tall and a tall guy who gets extra bounce
quick as well. He was very quick.
Yeah. So I mean, he gets extra balls from the pitch because of his height and his action. He was very quick. At the same time, he gets a lot of bounce from the pitch, and even international cricket, like from Pakistan players or the other players, they always, face difficulties facing him. So I must say that he was one of the difficult bowlers to face. And there's another guy from Australia, if you remember, Jason Gillespie. He was again, a high arm action, tall guy who gets extra bounce as well. So I would say these two bowlers find them difficult to face. Yeah.
I remember Gillespie. It was for me very underrated because there was Glenn McGrath and Brett Lee. But I think Gillespie with the new ball alongside McGrath. I remember. I think Michael Bevan was once speaking about him in an interview. He said Gillespie was rapid. He could be rapid, and his seam position was brilliant. He'd land the seam absolutely superbly. So yeah, I'm glad someone has mentioned Jason Gillespie here because he was one of my favorites growing up. Now, Yasir, you've seen lots of all-rounders. I mean, Abdul Razak and Azhar Mahmood, yes, they were in your way a bit, but I'm sure you admired them greatly. And when you talk about international all-rounders, Andrew Flintoff, I think you got the better of him in one game. You may have bowled him out. Amazing. We all remember him, 2005 Ashes. Ben Stokes, another wonderful all-rounder. From the years that you've played as an active player, who's been the best all-rounder or your favorite all-rounder? We should bring Dwayne Bravo and others in this as well, but those are the four that are just coming to mind.
There were other all-rounders in other countries, other teams. Like Lance Cruiser was one of the excellent all-rounder. I mean, everybody knows how good he was with the bat and with the ball. He bowls 90 miles an hour. At the same time, he can win the game for you, especially in the 1990 World Cup. If you remember the inning he played in that World Cup, take that inning out, the run out from his from his career. Otherwise, he was exceptional all-rounder. Then in India, you see Irfan Pathan. In Australia, Ian Harvey was an excellent all-rounder. But above all, I think I must say that Pakistan team was lucky enough to have Abdul Razak, the likes of Abdul Razak and Azhar Mahmood. They did exceptionally well for Pakistan cricket over the years, and then they won a lot of games for Pakistan, both with the ball and the bat. And later, I would mention Rana Naveed's name here as well because he was a guy, who did so well in domestic cricket. He got his chance, very late for Pakistan. But even then, he 5 to 6 years, he did very well for Pakistan cricket, win the game for Pakistan, and he did so well in county cricket. If you when you talk to other counties or different players here, they always play Pakistani professionals playing here and did well for the team. Rana was one of them. Even Azhar Mahmood and Abdul Razak and other players like Mushtaq Ahmed and they did so well in county cricket and raised the flag of Pakistan in England here.
You mentioned Rana Naveed. We're running out of time, but again, I'm talking to you not like an anchor here. I'm a cricket fan. I'm being a fanboy right now. You mentioned Rana Naveed. He had a killer Yorker as well, one of the best and a very good slower ball. And you later on in your career developed an excellent Yorker and a good slower ball. Did you learn a lot from Rana Naveed, or were there other cricketers that helped you out?
Yeah, talking of Rana Naveed, I mentioned his performances for Pakistan and county cricket. At the same time, he did so well in the Big Bash. He played for Hobart Hurricanes for 2 or 3 years, and the people loved him there and his bowling. When I was playing in Big Bash, I had a 2-year stint with first coaches, and that was a great experience for me as well. Justin Langer was the head coach there, and there were so many big names from Australian cricket. They were playing there as well, and he did. Ronan did so well in big bash as well. Yes, he was a good. He got a good Yorker, a good slow one, and good bouncer as well. So he was like a top package in a T20 format. Yes, about my Yorker or my skills. I mean, I learned a lot, when I was playing club cricket, we used to have a very old ball. I mean, some balls are like even 100 overs ball, old ball. So what we used to do is we tape the ball on the seam and then, keep practicing with that. So we keep this, we try to shine the one side and keep the other side rough. So from there, I think I learned a lot from there to how to reverse the ball, where the angle of the wrist and where I need to release the ball, and where you're looking at the base of the stump, things like that, which I learned from even club cricket, and then over the period of time playing with our senior players like Azhar Mahmood, Abdul Razak. I mean, I learned a lot from from the senior players in my era as well.
Yasir Arafat, final question because we're running out of time. The most satisfying moment in your career, either playing for Pakistan or county cricket, something that sticks out, something that you're very happy about. Final thought, and then we're coming to the end of the program. The tough one, I know.
Great feeling was great. Yeah, no, it is a tough one. I mean, I played like for Pakistan international, domestic cricket. I played in the county cricket for many years, and then I played in Big Bash. So the thing still in my keeps me gives me goosebump or what you call sticks into my mind was I was playing for first coaches Big Bash, and the head coach was Justin Langer. And once we are having a team chat, and everybody was sitting there, and he was talking to me, and he was mentioning me that Yasir, when I saw you bowling your run up, it's just like a poetry. So I mean that was from one of the legends of cricket, Australian cricketer. I mean that's I sum up my cricketing career with that, like these were from the cricketing legend.
Yasir, I'm not sure if you've seen the test on Amazon, but I think you should watch it. You'd really like it because not only are you a fine cricketer,
I watched the whole series. And
isn't it amazing?
My son, I mean, he always watches that, and I messaged Justin Langer about the test about that series, and he was very happy. And then I said to, and he was saying sorry to me, not in the sense that he was sorry. He was saying that there was a lot of swearing in that in that series. So he was saying that I'm sorry about that because your son was watching as well, so I shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I mean, it's a great learning as a coach because I'm into coaching now. So it's a great learning experience for me as well. Watching that test.
Yasir, this is the first time you and I got to speak, and I must say it was a pleasure. We didn't take a single break. That's how great for me this conversation was. And you're a very intelligent guy. You've had a fantastic career, and we wish you the best going forward. Yasir Arafat, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much for the show. It was wonderful.
That's all we have time for. Keep watching Sports Extra on PTV World. See you next time. Bye-bye.